I browsed the internet and found 17 thumbnail formats to go viral on YouTube. Starting with the first one, which is the classic MrBeast type of thumbnail. It's simply a colorful and oversaturated background with usually one object in focus. And of course, you can't forget about the over animated face, which makes it pop out even more. I shall tell you how you can make this effect for your face later in the video, so keep watching. Moving on to the second format, it's the reaction type of thumbnails. These usually contain a screenshot of the video itself, usually the highlight of the video with your face next to it. But what makes it even more powerful is the single color background behind the creator. This makes the thumbnail even more eye-catching when you're scrolling. The most used color is red, but there's no problem experimenting with green or orange. The Sidemen React channel primarily uses this format. Many times the Sidemen and other reactors react to other creators, which is the third thumbnail format, social hacking. Thumbnails I've categorized as social hacking can vary a lot. It can be something as simple as this or this. The point of this thumbnail format is just to try to show the creator's face or brand. This is powerful because you don't actually need a large audience to go viral, because your potential audience is that creator's audience. So make sure your video is good if you want to implement this format. Moving on from social hacking, the easiest thumbnail you can actually make, or I mean the second easiest one, because the easiest I'll tell you at the end of the video. Anyways, the second easiest thumbnail you can make is in action thumbnails. It's where you take a screenshot from a part of the video, similar to the reaction type of thumbnails, but you don't add your face. Instead, you can put an arrow, circle, or just leave it as it is. But don't make the mistake a lot of smaller creators make, and that is to choose a boring screenshot. If the video doesn't have any visual pleasing part in it, maybe try the next format, which is weird object type thumbnails. This is where the main focus is on an object, not necessarily on the background or the face. This format is supposed to present the object in a way that will spark curiosity. I mean, it's called a weird object for a reason. It's not supposed to be normal, so it will make the person actually click more if they get the thumbnail recommended. Let's move on to a totally different group of thumbnails, starting out with the money format and numbers in general. This is used by a lot of financial creators such as Iman Gaji, Jordan Welsh, and many more. It's also used by people like MrBeast and Ryan Trahan. What's in focus here is the number, not necessarily the person or background, but make sure to add that, otherwise the thumbnail will look very cheap. And talking about numbers, another way you can show numbers is by using the next format, graph thumbnails. This is also used by a lot of financial creators and documentary style creators. Here you need to show a graph either by itself, in front, or behind an object/person. This thumbnail is powerful because it's showing an outcome you might desire. This is one of the most underrated formats on YouTube, because seeing an outcome you desire will play with your emotions. This is the most important thing in a thumbnail, which I will talk more about throughout this video. We've been talking about money and numbers, but to get that money you have to go through a transformation. The best way you can show this is with a before and after type of thumbnail. This format usually contains a side-by-side image from two different moments. It's used most in the fitness niche, a photo of someone before and after a fitness transformation, but it can also be used in any other niches such as the food niche, challenge niche, and more. A thumbnail format which is similar to this is what I like to call the comparison format. It's also usually a side-by-side photo, but instead of showing a transformation, it's showing one thing compared to another thing. For example, this thumbnail by Marcus Brownlee. It's Google versus Bing. But what makes this thumbnail so powerful is the contrast between them two. When you do comparison type of thumbnails, make sure there's a good contrast between them so the viewer can easily distinguish between them two. Like I mentioned earlier, I was gonna tell you about the easiest thumbnail to make. It might seem silly, but I'm telling you it's effective. And I'm gonna call it the talking head thumbnail format. And what videos does this work for? Well, talking head videos. This is gonna be used in many niches such as the finance and minimalist niche. But the niche that's using this the best at the moment is the self-improvement niche. The most known creator to do this is Hamza, where the focus is on his face. But many other creators do this as well. The reason this is effective is because of the authenticity and the fact that it feels real. Because everyone is trying to optimize their thumbnails to be the most eye-catching, but you might actually get more views if you do the opposite. So try it out and see if it works for you. Talk about being authentic. A way you can be authentic is by filming your life, or in other words, to vlog. This format does not have one specific composition, so I won't go too deep into this one, but I'll give you an example that is quite underrated, and that is to have a side-by-side photo with a clean transition between them two. This can, for example, be by putting parts of your body over the other image, which is actually what Imangaji did here. Alright, I'm gonna go back to the 2023 meta-friendly type of thumbnail, starting with this, the me format. This is where the person in the image is very small compared to the object that is in focus. Mark Rober popularized it, but Matthew Beam is the most known for this. In this format, you don't actually need to spend time on the person, but more on the background and the object in focus. And talking about the person in the photo being small, let's go to the next format, which is size. There's two variants of this. One is where you or the object is small compared to something else. This is a perfect example of this. Jesse James West is standing next to many bigger men to illustrate fear, emotion, which I told you is the most important thing in a thumbnail. The second variant is where the person or object is large compared to something else. This will also work in the same way. I'll quickly go over the next format, which is the hide and seek format. Here you have to make sure to put the seeker in and someone hiding. You can make the person hiding scared, confident, happy, whatever emotion that makes sense. Both should be in focus and try putting both of them as close as possible to each other. Don't forget about the mobile users. Alright, let's talk about challenge thumbnails. MrBeast does them, Eric does them, Ryan Trahan does them, but what makes them so good? First of all, is the fear and shock factor in the creator's face. Again, emotions. They're also placed in a location where the challenge is being played. And lastly, there's a time in the corner to illustrate that they've been doing the challenge for a long time. Another challenge format is what I like to call the TikTok challenge. FaZe Rug, Brent Rivera, and many creators that have a younger audience do this. Here, it's all about the colors. Make it as eye-catching as possible. The more contrast and saturation there is, the better. I'm not joking, look at this. It's also usually very messy in a good way, not in a bad way like for example this. But the final format is the documentary format. This is usually more dark if you're talking about the downfall of something, but more light if it's the rise of something. You can use graphs or important moments of the person or company's life. An easy way you can do this is by, for example, putting the person in the middle and the situation that person went through at the start of his or her career on the left, and something later on the right. Patrick CC does this a lot. There you go, the 17 thumbnail formats to go viral. But it did promise you something, right? How to make the MrBeast animated face effect. And actually, you won't need Photoshop for this. It's a free software. I made a full guide to increase your CTR and make your thumbnails better. I also explained the psychology behind thumbnails and how to make the person on the other side of the screen want to click on your videos. Not only that, I've broken down every single format in this video more in depth and made my own example of every single format shown in this video. And lastly, I've shown exactly how to do the MrBeast animated face effect. All this I've done on a completely free photo editing software called Pixlr. To see all this, go down into the description and click on the first link. And I'm gonna be honest, it's probably the most valuable thing you can ever watch. Value over entertainment. Remember that. Thank you for watching and bye.